Hello. So I just wanted to get back to what I usually talk about. Well, I need to get closer. Um, I wanted to talk about how for the past month my phone has not been working. First of all, because it's just been really weird and really wonky. But I managed to get it to fix. You see, I have an Android, and at first I thought it was the battery, but then once I got the new battery and saw that it was actually the phone, I checked on it again and realized that it was the power button. The power button is loose, so a lot of times it just flickers on and off because the power button is very screwy, and I have to take it to T-Mobile when I get home next week for spring break. So that's why I have not been able to make a video this month, especially the fact that this is Black History Month, and Black History Month ends Saturday, and I am very unhappy about that. But a lot has been going on this month. Just today, we had a little debate trivia game, and we played Jeopardy at first, so we were answering questions on teams, women of power, Black women who have contributed to Black history and Black American history. We talked about sports, which I totally hate sports. It's my worst category. I probably would have known that Jackie Robinson was the first African American baseball player in Major League, but that was about it. We talked about the civil rights and places where a lot of Black history, Black American history was located at, like Selma, Montgomery, Alabama, like places like that, Washington, D.C., Memphis, Tennessee. I missed one question though about Malcolm X, and it should have been easy because I read part of his autobiography. I'll probably say fall of 2013 because I was in speech class, so I was doing a speech about him, an informative speech, and he was born in Omaha, Nebraska. I've said Mississippi. It was like a wild guess, so I'm disappointed that I didn't get that question right because I knew it. I just missed it. Anyway, when it came to the debate, I was mad because I picked to debate about certain topics like light skin versus dark skin, this so-called lynch theory, which is not real. This is made up by light-skinned blacks to divert the topic of light-skin privilege or passing privilege. And then there were questions like, do you believe that African Americans should get reparations such as consolation for slavery? And I was going to say yes, and here's why. Because I personally feel like there are other ethnic groups in America who do get consolation, and I know about affirmative action, but we should get reparations for slavery. We really should, and it really should go by like how I don't want to say how black you are because that sounds really weird, but basically your lineage, like if you're at least 1/4 or such and such black, then therefore you and your family gets reparations, stuff like that. And it's a controversial topic, but I was for it. And then we didn't get that question, and one team that was on our side was for it, the other side was against it, and they like forced them to choose. They were like, okay, you're for it and you're against it, and explain why. And I was mad because why would I be against something that I actually believe in? Oh, we wanted you to have a broad thinking. No, I've been to the other side and it's not pretty, so I'm going to be on this side. So then when it came to our table's turn, I got up because they were like, do you believe that race is still a factor? And I was getting up there because, yeah, I knew the answer. And then they're like, Kara, you're against it. And they did it on purpose because they knew I was for it. And it was like a competition to see who had the better argument. So then they were going out choosing, oh, you're against this topic and this team is for it. Like, why? Because you already know how I feel about these topics. So why would you force us to pick a side where we don't agree with? Why would you force me to argue against my humanity? Really? That was so fucked up, and I was mad. And they were like, oh, this is just a game, it's supposed to be fun. It's not fun if you're telling me to bullshit up there and tell some respectability politics about how there aren't any black heroes today and there are so many negative images of black people, basically saying, well, we work hard and we go to college, so it should be us that should be getting reparations and not the lazy black people. All of that horrible respectability politics and ableism, I was not down for that. So I said, hey, I'm not fucking answering this question, because I'm not going to sit there and lie and say that I don't believe that African Americans should get reparations when I do. I'm not going to lie and say that there aren't any good images of black people, and not just respectability politics, but I'm not going to sit there and act like Nicki Minaj and these ghetto so-called ratchet black people are horrible people and that we should just ignore them and pretend like we are better because of our education. No. And I wasn't going to lie and say that race doesn't matter and that you have to work hard. It does matter. And it was just bullshit, because I feel like they cheated me because they didn't want me to say something. They didn't want me to say some type of truth. They didn't. We ended up winning because the person that spoke for me was against it, and they went on this rhetoric of respectability bullshit where that person didn't believe, but I just felt like, if you don't believe in something, I'm not going to be up there just bullshitting just so I can fucking win. Like, that's not how debate should go. You shouldn't say, well, this team is going to be for, this team is against it. It should be decided, like, what do you believe in? And if this is how debate teams are, then absolutely not. Just like when we have composition, I had composition 1 and composition 2 in college. They give us argumentative essays, and they say you're either for or against it. They don't say you're going to write for or you're going to write against this. They say argue on why you believe that this is or not important. Argue against abortion or argue for it. Tell me why abortion and gay marriage should be legalized. Or tell me why you don't think it should be legalized. At least give people a choice. So I felt like it was just bullshit. And then one answer I got right, and they tried to say I was wrong. They said, Shirley Holmes was the first woman to be put on the ballot for president, the first African American woman. I said Shirley Chisholm. They were like, that is incorrect. It's Shirley Holmes. Bitch, who the fuck is Shirley Holmes? I looked it up. There is no such thing as Shirley Holmes in that field. It was Shirley Chisholm. And then they try to say, oh, well, it was about the first African American woman on the ballot and not this. Like bullshit. Like, don't try to cheat me because you're like insecure of some black woman or whatever, trying to sit there and say that everything that you've been taught was a lie, even by black people with respectability politics. That's what I have to say about today. Now, recently there has been controversy because Gilliana, I don't know how to pronounce that woman's name, but Rancic from Fashion Police made a comment about Zendaya's hair. Zendaya came to the Oscars with dreads. She looked beautiful, like she wore this beautiful white dress. She looked like a goddess. And now me, you know how I am with colorism. I was thinking like, okay, so this light-skinned biracial girl is wearing dreads, and obviously people are going to be like, oh wow, she is so pro-black, she is just so into black women. And I'm not taking away from Zendaya supporting her black sisters. I am very glad that she is someone who actually respects people's feelings, and she could have went ahead and did that Aaliyah biopic and disrespected Aaliyah's legacy and her family, but she didn't, because she realized that, maybe this isn't right. Maybe when the time comes, I do want to be Aaliyah, and I do think it was kind of unfair to be like, well, Zendaya can't play Aaliyah, but at the same time, it was about skin color. It was about the fact that this was a light-skinned biracial woman with privilege who was playing a darker-skinned woman. Yeah, Aaliyah herself wasn't that dark-skinned. She was probably a shade lighter than me, but at the same time, you could have picked a brown-skinned black woman who is not biracial, because yeah, Aaliyah is of Native American descent from her maternal side. I believe her mother is black and Native American, but at the same time, Aaliyah wasn't biracial, like half black and half white, or half completely non-black POC or non-black and then half black. That's not what it was about with Aaliyah. And I felt like people wanted to portray Aaliyah's legacy as the fact that she was so beautiful and talented because she was light skinned, which that's not true. Yeah, she was light skinned. Yeah, a lot of people thought she was beautiful, and she was beautiful. Like she was just a charming person. One of the black girls that I grew up with that I looked at as, this is a beautiful black girl. I can see me in her. You know, that was how I felt. And you know, it was just kind of complicated, and I didn't really have an issue with Zendaya. I thought she was a cute girl when I saw her in Shake It Up. She was very entertaining. She was funny. I actually liked Shake It Up. I didn't actually get to watch the whole series, but the episodes that I did see of Zendaya and Bella Thorne, they were cute together. Like, I love Zendaya. I had no idea that Zendaya was biracial. I had no idea that she identified as black. I didn't know she was a black girl. I thought she was like a non-black Latina or multiracial, but not exactly black either. So now that, you know, I knew that Zendaya was black, I was like, oh, okay. But I knew people were on that colorist, misogynistic bullshit where they don't mind a light-skinned biracial girl erasing darker-skinned monoracial black girls. And I have no issue with biracial people embracing black culture and African-American heritage. But I just don't want them to pretend like they represent me when they don't. I'm not biracial. That's how I feel. But Rancic was like, Zendaya smells like weed and oysters, which was so foul of her to say because weed is a stereotype where they picture people of Caribbean descent, black Caribbean descent, like Jamaica, where people like Rastafarians is a culture of black Caribbeans who I don't know much about, so I'm not gonna be like this is what it is, but one of the stereotypes is that all they do is smoke weed, Bob Marley, that type of stuff, ethnocentrism and racism, anti-blackness, anti-black xenophobia. So because Zendaya was wearing dreads, it was obviously anti-black, and Giuliana was like, oh, I didn't mean it, it was like chic, please. Honestly, if it were Kylie coming up there in dreads and she has taken a picture with those fake nasty matted hair, she would have been like, that is chic, that is so cool. She wouldn't have said something so stereotypical about weed. And then people were like, well, you guys are hypocrites because you are a black feminist defending a light-skinned black woman who was told that she wasn't black enough, which was a complete lie. But how can I, a black feminist, defend Zendaya when I just got over talking about how she wasn't so-called black enough to play Aaliyah? I said she wasn't dark enough to play Aaliyah. I said she was biracial. I said she had light skin and mixed privilege, and that she is another actress who is touted as erasing darker skinned and monoracial black girls. That's what I said. I was just saying how I felt. But I'm not going to sit there and let someone like Zendaya be a victim of anti-blackness and misogyny either. Like, no. Like, I'm not like that. I mean, I can sit there and critique a black person with privilege and how problematic they are and still come to their defense when they are a victim of anti-blackness. That's how I feel. But I can't stand Kelly Osbourne, by the way, because she's like, well, finding out that there was so much racism on the show, now I am questioning whether I should be on the show or not. You are a fat-shaming asshole. You came for Christina Aguilera, and then since you lost all that weight, you thought it was okay to make fun of other fat women. And then you made fun of Christina Aguilera when she gained weight. Like, you are disgusting. You body shame women. You make so much misogynistic comments on that show, along with Giuliana and the late Joan Rivers. So you're no better than Rancic because she made a racist comment that was blatant. Like, oh, I'm not racist, but I want to shame fat women and their bodies. Like, no. So shut the fuck up, Kelly Osbourne. Also, I wanted to talk about white passing privilege as well as biracial black people who are half white that obviously identify as POC and black mixed race. But lately, I just want to say this. Stop asking rappers and R&B singers and any black person in the hip hop industry opinions on Iggy Azalea, because you're just going to be disappointed if you are against Iggy Azalea. Stop asking mixed rappers and light-skinned and white-passing rappers what they think of Iggy. Stop asking any black male rapper what they think of Iggy, because it's probably going to be the same. Oh, well, just leave her alone, and she's doing her thing. And, you know, I just think you should support women. Okay, but where are you when Nicki Minaj is being slandered? I don't care about Azalea Banks because she's just so problematic that I just don't care if she blows up or not, because she has said so many anti LGBTQ things about trans women, about bisexual women, about gay men. It's just men and women who are transgender, men and women who are part of the LGBT community. I just can't fuck with her. And I agree with the whole Iggy Azalea cultural appropriation. I'm glad that Azalea brought that up, but now black feminists and women who actually care about all black women should be able to talk, and not some transphobic scum, okay? Anyway. Just stop. Just don't ask any more rappers what they think of Iggy. And I'm talking about hosts. Don't ask Kendrick Lamar. Do not ask Tinashe. Tinashe's not a rapper. She is an R&B singer. But don't ask Logic, because he has said some things that were ignorant as well. Don't ask Kanye West. And especially don't. If you do ask, just prepare for some ignorant response. Jill Scott even said something. Eve even said something. Who the fuck is Iggy to these people? Seriously. And I want to call out Tinashe and Logic in particular, because this is in no way to attack them as people, as mixed race people of African descent. Like, I'm not here to like say that they're not black enough. I'm not here to discredit what they've gone through when it came to their form of anti-black racism. What I do want to say, Tinashe, as someone who is mixed race, who is part Zimbabwean, I believe so, part Zimbabwean. I think Zendaya is part Zimbabwean as well. But Tinashe, I read the screenshots about you defending Iggy, and it honestly disappointed me because, guys, I honestly have no issue with Tinashe. I think she's very talented. She seems like a nice person. But I have to call people out when they just make ignorant claims. She was like, I am mixed, so I can be on both sides, or I can be on both sides of the fence. No, you cannot. You choose the side that is right, and you choose the side that is wrong. But you already chose the wrong side. You chose whiteness because you're part white, because your mom is white, and I know it. You're like, well, I'm conflicted because I'm mixed, and basically I get the best of both worlds, and I understand the logic of white people. Really? Because first of all, the best of both worlds is a racist myth to basically discredit the experience that biracial people go through, because at the end of the day, they don't have the best of both worlds. They don't. They do not. If they are part white and part black, or if they are of African descent, they're going to face anti-blackness from the other side that they come from, that is non-black. And that is true. So don't sit there and say you get the best of both worlds, because you are basically subscribing to these anti-black, anti-mixed, anti-POC rhetorics of how, well, they don't have it that bad. I mean, they do. They just don't have it bad like someone who is black and not of any other ancestry. I mean, not of any direct ancestry, or someone who does not identify as mixed race. Now, I actually am in an organization, and we call us the multicultural students, you know, because we are multicultural. You know, we're black, but we're multicultural, and that's kind of the politically correct way of saying black student organizations. but we just say multicultural. So I understand how you can call yourself multiracial and biracial and then still see yourself as black. Because yeah, we say we're the multicultural students. Like, look at me. Like, I'm black and I'm African American. But, you know, we just basically identify as both, you know, as the students. The multicultural club, even though it's problematic in so many ways, and I have to have arguments with people with respectability politics and shaming black people below them or so-called below them because they're not in college with an education. But yeah, Tinashe and Kendrick really kind of hurt my feelings, and I don't know them. I don't know them personally. I just like their music. But to hear someone who you think, okay, is for black people, for black women, especially Kendrick Lamar, who's like so pro, just black people in general, is sitting there defending the presence of Iggy and saying that God has a reason why Iggy is here, but Mike Brown is gone, and that Mike Brown did not respect himself. That disingenuous lie, you know. And then Tinashe just basically saying, well, I'm part white and I'm mixed, so I can't really just sit there and give the prejudice of white women. What prejudice was Iggy facing? Like, I know that you can be prejudiced against any group of people. Like, it doesn't have to be like institutional racism. But honestly, people are just calling out her appropriation and that she is racist. She is not a good person. And I don't care if your mom is white. You still shouldn't be sitting there defending people like Iggy, especially when you look more like the girls that Iggy is erasing than Iggy. You're not dark skinned, but still, you should at least understand why Iggy is so problematic, because like I said, you look more like a black girl that is being erased than Iggy. Even if you're like Jasmine Sanders or Jada Doll or someone like White Passing, I don't see why you would sit there and act like you can have two sides just because you're biracial. And it's not everyone, but it's enough where it's hard to not generalize. And you see this a lot in people with white mothers or just people who are just willfully obtuse about blackness and the identity. I also want to say something about Logic, the rapper, who I like. I like him. Like, I think he's talented. I like his music. So yeah, I'm a fan. But I watched an interview the other night, late at night, where he was commenting on Iggy Azalea's presence in hip hop. They asked him, and I knew they asked him because it was like, hey, as someone who looks white, as someone who looks the way you do, how do you feel about white rappers? How do you feel about Iggy Azalea? You know, you look white, you know, you got the passing privilege, so how do you feel? And he's like, because it wasn't as ignorant as someone like fucking Kendrick and Tinashe was like, oh yeah, Iggy is, you know, not a hater, but oh yeah, Iggy is great and you need to stop hating. He was just like, I don't know Iggy. Okay, I don't know Iggy. A lot of people don't know Iggy and know that she's sick. And then he's like, she seems like a sweet girl. Yeah, she seems like a sweet girl in interviews, and I admit it, she seems sweet, but it doesn't take away the fact that she's still racist. There's so many horrible people who seem like nice people. And then he's like, it's like a person who is rich, and by person, he meant a black person. And I think he was throwing some shade at Drake. He was throwing shade at Drake by saying, yeah, it's just like a person from the suburbs rapping like they're from the hood. You were throwing shade at Drake because that's something that we've been talking about when it came to Drake. And yes, Drake is appropriating a certain class lifestyle, but Drake is still black. Drake at least knows the history of hip hop and knows what he is doing. And Drake admitted that he's not from the hood and that, you know, he never really pretended to be from the hood, but sort of wanted people to realize that he has that hood mentality or understands, you know, the way of the streets. And I agree, you know, there are people who didn't grow up in the streets but still can be associated with people from the streets and are good at navigating the streets. So I think that's what Drake was on. But I was like, Logic, Drake is not the fucking same thing as Iggy Azalea. who is white, who is from Australia, who's not even someone like Lady Sovereign, who was talented and never sat there and acted like she was black. Yeah, she rapped about how she was from the poor side of London, like my England. That's my shit. Yeah, Lady Sovereign has white privilege, but Iggy is just a fraud. Even Eminem is much better than Iggy, and I was disappointed that he won the Grammy because I called it. It may not be Iggy, but it's going to be Eminem because he's white and male. But yeah, I was like, how are you gonna sit there? Like honestly, if he was asked about Macklemore, he would have been like, oh yeah, like I just don't understand, the appropriation, because he said in another interview that it was the black man that made hip hop, which it was not the black man, it was black people, black women. But yeah, he would have had a better answer than just that whole passive, well, I don't know Iggy, and Iggy just seems sweet, and, she's doing her thing. She's doing her thing by erasing black women. Like, you don't understand. Yeah, you don't think Iggy is hurting anyone because it's not attacking your black manhood. It's not attacking other black men's manhood. It's attacking black womanhood. Iggy's playing the delicate, violent white women, and black men and gullible black women are eating it up. So I just can't. And like I said, I wanted to talk about passing privilege because honestly, Logic is probably the only black mixed biracial rapper that I've heard of that was white passing. Like, damn, like I'm kind of like calling him the Mariah Carey of rap because I've never really seen a black rapper who was white passing. In the same thing, when it comes to Eminem, yeah, you have white rappers, but white passing rappers, and we should talk about that, passing privilege in rap. So if you are white or appear as white, you're going to be assumed white unless you say so, which Logic does. And I do want to say that no matter how white looking Logic is or someone else is, that is not the same thing as having white privilege. White passing people have passing privilege. They don't have white privilege. Now, they may receive white privilege because of the way that they look, but they don't have white privilege like a white person does. They are not white people, therefore they don't have white privilege. So it doesn't matter if they look white, to a racist or to a KKK member, these are niggers. Come on. And I'm not saying that to like erase, the colorism, but I don't want people to think that they have white privilege when they don't. Just like when you talk about non-black Jewish people, they don't have white privilege. A lot of them don't. A lot of them may have conditional white privilege or passing privilege, but don't get that mistaken as having total white privilege, because that is so dangerous for those who are of Jewish descent. But with passing privilege, the same thing goes for someone like Logic, who may not be white, who may identify as biracial, who lets people know that he's not white. You're still looked at as a white rapper from the perspective that you look white. And I said on my Tumblr that I hate his fans on YouTube because some of them want to attack me. Some of them want to call me a bitch because I'm speaking the truth. Like when I first downloaded Logic's album, it was on R&B exclusive. Okay, I'm sorry. Like I looked at the album on R&B exclusive, and I'm like, hey, I don't know Logic. He's kind of cute because like I looked at the picture, and it was the deluxe edition. So it's like a graffiti art of his face. Like I thought he was POC. I thought, okay, he looks mixed black or non-black Latino. Like this is obviously a man of color, and I just downloaded it because I haven't heard of him. I was like, okay, let me download it. It took me a while to actually listen to his music until Kim Tastic on Twitter said that he was good. And I was like, okay, let me listen to him. It took me about a month or so to actually listen to Under Pressure. And I really liked the album. And there has been some Kendrick Lamar comparisons. Ew. Okay, sorry. I was sick today. But there has been Kendrick Lamar comparisons, and yeah, I do hear a lot of Kendrick Lamar influences, but whatever. Like, he's cool. I just don't like some of the things that he says. Like, I don't agree. And Kendrick Lamar, as you can see, I still have a poster behind me, but like, wait, yeah, that's the poster of him behind me. And I just want a lot of these rappers to just realize that if you're gonna cape for someone like Iggy, where are you when Nicki Minaj or black girls are being attacked? Oh, she's just a woman. Quit picking on the woman, and it's because she is a white woman. Let's be honest. Ooh, I'm thirsty. I want to get up and get something to drink. Okay. Okay. This was so good. But yeah, escaping for white womanhood, even though they are killing black women metaphorically, has got to stop. Because white women never cared about you. At least most of them, the racist white women. Like Lucia said on Empire Tonight, no matter how many white women you marry, they're not going to respect you. Where did that come from? I don't know. I just thought I should add that in. And with Kanye West and Amber Rose, it's the same thing. Amber Rose called out Tyga's pedophile ass. What time is it? Because I got... Oh, shit. My fucking math work is due at 12, so I got to wrap this up. Amber Rose was saying that Tyga is gross. That he doesn't need to be with Kylie Jenner. And then Chloe shames the fact that she was a 15-year-old sex worker and said that her opinion was invalid because she was a sex worker. She was a stripper. And Amber was like, okay, so you want to victim blame the fact that I was 15 stripping, to support my family, that I was basically exploited, to defend the fact that Tyga is using your younger sister. I don't care what Kylie looks like. I don't care if she's getting the fake ass and the fake lips and, the dreads and trying to, look exotic or whatever. I don't care if she looks grown. She is 17. He doesn't need to be with her, and he's 25. And why is he BFFs with a 17-year-old girl? That is so weird to me. And it's weird that Chloe and Chris aren't saying anything about it. Instead, they want to come for Amber Rose, who is biracial, who is a black woman, saying something and attack her, basically bully her. And Amber Rose wasn't really right for acting like Kim consented to the whole sex tape. She did not consent to it. Paris Hilton did not consent to the sex tape. Paris Hilton tried to get that shit to stop. Even then, she was called a whore and slut wanting attention. So, you can't sit there and act like Kim wanted the publicity. And I do believe, she turned something horrible into, she was just like, something good did not come out of the fact that, a tape was released without her consent. But, Kim was always rich. Kim always had the money. So don't act like that tape just suddenly made her. Because I fucking hated that song, I Hit It First, when Ray J kept saying that he put her on. But then Kanye's no better when he said that he put Amber Rose on in Blame Game, slut shaming her, saying I'll call you bitch for short, talking about choking her. Now I'm not sure if it was like choking her like during some kinky sex or something like that, but it just seemed so violent and fetishizing of Amber Rose. And then Kanye was acting like Amber was icky, like, yeah, Kim is much purer than Amber.